Is time management a thing when you are a small business owner? Hey there, my name is Bob Seebohar, owner of Energy Performance. I've been a small business owner and a sport dietitian for over 25 years. And today I want to talk about time management. Is it time management? What I'm going to share with you is more not necessarily time management, but priority management. So I think from a time perspective, listen, we're all dealt the same card. There's 24 hours in a day, right? It's how you prioritize those 24 hours. So as small business owners, does this ring a bell? Wow, I've got these one-on-ones scheduled. I've got so many of them. I go like on the hour, every hour, 8, 9 hours a day. You're booked, which is great, right? But you have kind of a little bit of an income ceiling when that happens, and we won't talk about that. That's in another video. But when we look at time management, or more importantly, priority management with owning a small business and really trying to escalate our business up above the six-figure revenue and more, what we look at is not necessarily managing your time, but managing your priorities within the time that you have. Okay. Now, there are two C's. I call it the two C's of priority management. Okay. The two C's that you need to think about are creating and consulting. So think about this. If you have, let's just say 40 hours a week, obviously, most of us do not work 40 hours a week. We have all these opportunities to do more than that. We usually do more than that. Okay. But listen, as small business owners, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, we have a lot of flexibility with that also, right? Two C's. The first one, creation. The second one, consulting. Within your business, to be able to make more money, you actually need to create more than you consult. And I know that sounds backwards, so just bear with me. Let me go backwards first. If you have 40 hours in a week, and let's just say you have 40 hours of consultations, which you won't have because there's other things that are going on and depends on how you structure your business model. But within those 40 hours, let's just say you're 40 hours maxed with consultations. When do you actually get to create things for your business? So the way a business thrives is through creating new opportunities, new revenue streams, new programs, new services. But if you're spending 40 hours of 40 hours that you have per week consulting, you don't have time to create. And this is where I see a lot of the entrepreneurs who I mentor, they get to that ceiling, right? So that ceiling is 40 hours, and all of a sudden they can't break that revenue ceiling because they are only consulting within the 40 hours. They're not creating within the 40 hours. Listen, creating will accelerate your profit. I can guarantee it, right? You just have to prioritize the time that you use for creating versus consulting. There's no set equation. There's no magic formula to this, right? You kind of have to let it structure within your business model. Good mentors will show you how to do this within your business model, but let me just give you a few tips here, okay? The first one is identifying when you are at highest productivity during the day. So do you see most productivity that you do in the morning, the afternoon, or the evening? Most people, this is a generalization, but most of us are a little more productive in the morning time. So during the morning time, if you're more productive, think about, should that be more of a creating time or more of a consulting time? And there's not a right or wrong answer here, right? It really, really depends on maybe what type of clients you're consulting. Sometimes I have some very, very challenging clients or athletes that I work with, and I need to know that I'm in the top end of my game, and I schedule those sometimes for the mornings, right? But I also know personally that I do really well in the creation phase in the mornings because that is my peak productivity time from a cognitive functioning standpoint. Everybody is different, but your first step is to identify when is your peak cognitive time, your peak productivity time, okay? And then, second step, once you know when that is, whatever chunk of time that is. So if you say, oh, it's during the morning, well, go a little bit farther. Like, what does that mean? Does that mean morning from 8 to 12? Does that mean from 6 to 10? Like, what does that mean? Once you identify the total time of your productivity, then what I want you to do is split it in half. So take half of that, devote it to creativity, and devote the other half to consulting. Okay. Most of the time, as small business owners, We don't allow ourselves the time to be productive, to do or be in that creative phase. So the first step is to identify when you're most productive. Second step is to split that time frame into two and devote 50% of that to a creation phase. Okay. Step three is actually knowing what to do in the creation phase, right? We kind of know what to do in the consulting phase. Like you book a client, an hour, 2 hours, 30 minutes, whatever. Yeah, you know exactly what you're doing. But in the creation phase, I've seen a lot of the people that I mentor just kind of sit there and be like, I don't know what to do. Like, what do I do? I'm not meeting with anyone. This is where you're actively working on content creation, on marketing, on networking, on, this is going to sound weird, on thinking about how to better run your business, right? So when you're consulting, the business is kind of running you, right? So for the most part, right? Because you're in it, but when you're creating, you are running your business. You are creating the future of your business. You're creating more opportunities to generate revenue to get over that ceiling of 6 figures or more, right? So once you decide when that creation phase or time is, and it can be 1 day of the week, it could be 5 days a week, it could be whatever, right? Start small, right? Because obviously you still want to give some attention to the consulting phase because that's where you're actively getting paid right now. But with that creating phase, once you have that set, then think about what I would recommend is think about what content am I going to create? How do I service the people, my clients that I already have? How do I build my email list if you have an email list? How do I improve my website if I need to do that, if you have a web developer, right? So think about the things that you need to schedule, to have in play to be able to move your business to the next level. So again, I mentioned content creation. I mentioned how to gain more individuals via email, and that's maybe some social media presence. Maybe it's some social media marketing. Maybe it's literally just networking and reaching out to your colleagues or your mentors or past clients for referrals. That'll be another video, but referrals are huge in our business, right? So that's the time where you are gaining productivity and you're using that time to create for your business. Okay, so those are the 2 C's of really, if you think about it, of managing and owning a business. And remember, again, it's not so much about managing your time, it's managing your productivity and your priorities, right? So remember the 2 C's, creating and consulting. You need both within a business, especially if you kind of just started your business or if you're maybe like halfway through your career, if you think, even towards the latter part of your career, you still need to really schedule and segment the creating versus the consulting, but the percentages of each will shift depending on what phase of your business and your career that you're in. Okay, so normally I see a lot of individuals, a lot of nutrition professionals who are just starting have a lot heavier phase of consulting because they're trying to make money. And they, maybe it's a 10% creating and a 90% consulting. But eventually, especially if you want your business to thrive and break that income ceiling, that 10% creating needs to move up more towards 20 and 30 and 40. And then the consulting comes down because here's the thing. I'm not asking you to lose money because you're not going to be consulting, but because you're going to be creating more revenue opportunities and more revenue streams, then your revenue is actually going to increase as your one-on-one consulting decreases. It's a beautiful thing when it comes together. Okay, hope that makes sense. The 2 C's of productivity. Remember, again, it's not necessarily about time management. It's about productivity and priority management. Thanks for listening.